Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to Get Life Educational Empowerment. Get it together, live in full expectancy. Educational empowerment on the Awesome Radio Network, broadcasting on WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And if you're joining us live on Awesome Radio, Facebook, or YouTube, welcome, or should I say, welcome back to our viewing family. I'm your host, Sherida Suggs, educator, principal, coach, motivator, and your partner in purpose. I hope that you're doing amazing today. As we close out Black History Month, my heart is so full. We talked about cultural inclusivity in our schools, our families, and our communities. We began with a moral compass. We centered our conversation around the voice and vision of Dr. Martin Luther King, who reminded us that equality in education is not just about access, it's about justice. We established these foundational truths. Equality is fair access to learning. Equality is high expectation for all students. Equality is preparing every child to think, lead, and contribute. But we also acknowledge something very critical. Giving every child the same thing does not guarantee the same outcome. Dr. King warned us that inequality in education leads directly to inequality in society. So, in cultural inclusivity part one, we made it clear opening the doors of the school building is not enough. We must ensure every child can walk through those doors and thrive once inside. And this was the foundation. So, in cultural inclusivity part two, we talked about equity and asset based pedagogy. Now, if you have not had a chance to listen to those shows, please feel free to find us on YouTube. We stretched the conversation. It moved us from equality to equity. We talked about how equity requires an intentional response to students' different needs, backgrounds, and lived experiences. We challenged deficit thinking, the dangerous habit of focusing on what students lack, and we embraced instead asset based pedagogy, seeing strengths instead of shortcomings, honoring culture instead of ignoring it, and recognizing lived experiences as knowledge. We talked about bridging gaps through partnership, educators, families, students, and community stakeholders. This wasn't theory, this was practical empowerment, rooted in belief that every child has potential worth celebrating. And then in cultural inclusivity part three, we talked about what cultural inclusivity looks and feels like in the school, family, and community. We got tangible. It was about inclusivity and exploring schools where every student belongs, classrooms where every voice is heard, and communities where every culture is honored. We talked about honoring the power of a student's name. We talked about teaching history through a lens of triumph, not just trauma. We talked about building trust across differences. We made it clear that equity must be lived, not laminated on a poster in the hallway. So now we are going to talk about cultural inclusivity part four. Part one was the foundation, part two was the mindset shift, part three was the community blueprint. Part four becomes the transformation. Now, we ask, what happens internally when inclusion is absent? What scars are left when students feel unseen? And what healing happens when belonging becomes unreal? Because here's the get life truth. Because the way people treat their students in school does not disappear when the bell rings. It settles inside of them. It shapes who they are, their confidence, their voice, how they see the world. Cultural inclusivity is not just structural, it's emotional, it's psychological, it's mental, it's generational. And in moving into part 4, we move from systems to stories, from policy to personal impact, from environment to identity. Family, we have been on a journey. Justice and equality, equity, strength, community in action. And now we're getting ready to close this February, this Black History Month, with a Get Life transformational and testimonial moment. This show, my story from trial to triumph, today is not about statistics, theory, or even research based strategies. Today is personal because cultural inclusivity is not just a concept, it is a lived experience. It is part of who we are. It is our story. How people are treated as children, it sticks, it settles, it seeps inward. It shapes identity before a child even has language for what's happening to them. Today, I want to walk you through the 3 T's: trial, truth, triumph. And I promise you, we will end in triumph. Please listen to this powerful poem. My skin was not light enough to be your daughter. Remember when I was born, you didn't claim me because my skin was too dark to be a child of yours. I had no father to adore. My skin was not light enough to be your childhood best friend, to kiss you on the cheek on the bus. You see, I had a little innocent crush. Your mama told you that if another Black girl kisses you, that you better slap the black off of her face. I'm glad you didn't listen to that. My skin was not light enough to be your teacher's pet. Instead, you shunned me and left me confused about my identity. Couldn't figure out just why Miss Shirley didn't seem to like me. Changed the tone of my voice so that I could sound like Christy. But later found out that for her, I would never be enough. I remember the day that I decided to sound like my little self. Stood up for show and tell, but could barely get the words out of my mouth because I was so nervous because my teacher did not want to hear my true voice. But listen to me now. My skin was not light enough to read over half of the thick highlights textbook. What can I say? I just love reading. But you didn't believe me. So you asked me the hardest questions about each story in every poem. Because how can this little Black girl read more than what my little Timmy read? Miss Hill, did it occur to you that maybe little Timmy didn't read because he was out hunting with his daddy? Maybe little Timmy didn't want to read. I don't know, but it didn't have nothing to do with me. Got the answers right, and Miss Hill slammed the book closed in my face and told me to go sit down. Then when little Christy answered the questions from her little 5-page booklet, Miss Hill smiled and said, "Good job, little Christy." Oh, what I would have given for my teacher assistant to smile at me. My skin was not light enough to get a card or a visit from you when I was sick in the hospital in 2nd grade with pneumonia, or to receive a welcome back when I got better and returned to school. But instead, I got a pile of work to complete that you didn't even believe that I would do. But when little Christy got bit by her dog, the whole class had to participate in that phone call that we made to our mama. We had to make sure that little Christy was okay. Little Christy was welcomed back with a big old balloon bouquet on show and tell day. When her parents educated us about dogs and rabies. The lesson that we learned was that not all dogs are bad. My skin was not light enough to have Indian in my blood. You see, my mama told me that we were part Cherokee, and I believed her. So proud of my identity during the CAT test, I colored in the circles that asked about my race. As proud of my heritage, I colored in Black and Indian. But you looked me straight in the eyes as you erased my dark circles, and you told me that I was Black. To this day, I wonder what part of my brown skin is Black. I struggled in my youth with wondering why my hair couldn't be as long as my mother's and why my skin was so dark. Maybe I struggled because my teacher told me I was Black. This fictional offering comes from the pen of an anonymous African American poet. Though its heartbeat is real, it is stitched together from lived moments of racism and social injustice, memories that never quite fade. It comes from our story, an observation of African American History Month, and in the spirit of cultural inclusivity for all, the poet reflects on the decade that shaped her, the vibrant yet complicated 1980s. This monologue stands as a tribute to resilience, to unshakable faith, hard earned self worth. It is also a message to every soul who has ever been overlooked or underestimated. You are seen, you are valued, you are enough. Family, the story opens in 1987 through the eyes of a child that encountered racism before she had the language for it. She only knew that she was treated differently, but she didn't know why. Her brilliance in the classroom was dimmed by the perception of others. Her potential, though evident, was brushed aside because her skin was not light enough to be celebrated. As she grew older, her dreams stretched toward college, but guidance did not seem to meet her there. When she sought direction from her high school counselor, she was met with a question that still echoes with her to this day. What do you want me to do? It was their first and final exchange between her and her high school counselor. In that moment, she felt the weight of being dismissed, as though her future carried no urgency, no promise, no possibility. But I am here to tell you that Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to bring you to the expected end. Years later, while that counselor's own son, a top performing student, descended into emotional turmoil and tragically lost his life, that young girl who was once dismissed by that same counselor was left to navigate the educational system alone. With no roadmap, she leaned on friendships. She leaned on learning about financial aid, not through the institutional support, but through observation and courage. She followed her friends through the doors of the community college. They showed her where to register, where to sign up, where to begin. She often reflects that without them, she might still be wandering the hallways of that college campus, searching for admissions, searching for the registrar's office, searching for the financial aid office. Without the girl who needed a ride to school, the poet May would have never discovered the way. But God, divine guidance, steadied her steps. From uncertain beginnings, she earned an associate degree, then a bachelor's degree, and later two master's degrees. She does not recount this as a tale of privilege or ease because the road was not easy. However, she recounts this story as her story from trial to triumph, her story, a recount of evidence of her calling, the belief of purpose, even when no one else affirmed it. Yet, education did not silence her opposition. In professional spaces, she was reminded through glances, through tones, through side eyes and subtle exclusions to stay in her place. She was expected to be visible but quiet, present but contained, appreciated but never too powerful. The box was there for her to step in. The invisible but firm consequences for stepping outside of this box was present. The monologue carries weight. She often shared an image of herself bound in toilet paper by students that did not share the same color of skin that she had, that didn't share the same background as her. For the students, covering her in toilet paper as a game was mere fun as a game, but for her, it was symbolism. It represented the limitations imposed by society uncomfortable with her freedom. It represented the fragile restraints meant to confine her voice, her existence. But family, toilet paper tears. So does every false boundary placed upon a determined spirit. This is not simply a story of survival. It is a declaration of becoming. It is a representation of trial to triumph. It is our Black history. It is our history. Can we pause for a moment to recognize and celebrate you, those who pour into classrooms with purpose and patience, shaping not just lessons but lives? To the parents and caregivers who somehow stretch 24 hours into 40 hours, balancing responsibility and love like seasonal pros. To the students who are finding your rhythm, your story, your song, your beat, your voice, stepping into who you are becoming, even when it feels uncertain. To the mentors, community advocates, parents, and faith leaders who show up consistently with wisdom, compassion, and courage. This space right now is yours, not just because of what you accomplished, but because of who you are to the very core. Your presence matters. Your insight matters. Your consistency matters. The work of education, of community building, of shaping futures, it does not stand without you. It cannot thrive without you. Thank you for those quiet check ins, those late night lesson plans, those long car rides filled with advice and sometimes even arguments, those hallway conversations, those moments of truth and grace when it would have been easier to just walk away. Those moments add up, they echo further than you realize. So receive this today. You are making an impact in ways that you never knew that you would. You are cultivating belonging. You are nurturing growth. You are planting seeds that will bloom long after the season passes. And before we close this moment, we must also recognize a group that was honored just last week, our school resource officers. We honor them not for the badge that they wear, but for the balance they carry every single day. They leap our campuses to safety. They build relationships with students who may not trust easily. They mentor, they de escalate conflicts before they grow. They stand in the gap during crisis. They offer guidance when a student is making a hard decision. They partner with the administration and families to protect the safety, and the dignity of our students. They show up to games, assemblies, events, not just as officers, but as parts of the school family. Their presence provides assurance. Their vigilance protects learning spaces. Their humanity reminds students that authority and compassion can exist together. To every school resource officer who serves with integrity, patience, and heart, we thank you. You are appreciated, you are necessary, and we honor the work that you do to keep our schools safe and supported. We are about to take a short break and a shift. When we return, we're going to explore how this poet uses her artistry as a vehicle for awareness and change. For her artistry is not just a pastime, it is purpose, it is ministry, it is therapy, it is truth telling. It is a bold declaration of freedom, not just for African Americans, but for all humankind. She believes that every person carries a gift, a calling, a divine imprint, and it is each individual's responsibility to discover it, to nurture it, to walk it out, to live it in their own unique way. Much like the visionaries of the Harlem Renaissance, she uses her creativity and expression to challenge injustice and illuminate pathways for others. Those trailblazers harnessed art, music, and poetry as instruments of resistance, resilience, and elevation. In that same spirit, this poet offers her work as both mirror and movement. Stay right where you are. You are listening to Awesome Radio Network. We'll be back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Get Life Educational Empowerment on Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM, and WNOS 102.3 FM and 1470 AM. It is time for our Keeping It Real moments with Get Life. We will continue our cultural inclusivity series through the lens of the Get Life mission, because this is what Get Life is all about: growth, intentional living, faith, leadership, and empowerment. At Get Life, we believe education is more than just academics. It is awareness, it is healing, it is courage, it is voice. And introducing this poem is not just about performance, it is about purpose. It aligns with our commitment to create spaces where truth can be spoken, storage can be honored, and growth can take root. Through Get Life, we emphasize that every individual carries responsibility to use it in service of something greater. Cultural inclusivity is not a slogan for us. It is action. It is insurance that every voice matters, every story counts, and every person understands their inherent worth. And this is what the three T's, brought to us by my classmate, Jamaica Dixon, can come alive. Thank you for your contribution and support, Jamaica. Teach, think, talk, choosing the T. In this trial to triumph declaration, we teach so that knowledge becomes empowerment. We challenge others to think critically, compassionately, and courageously about systems, stories, and self. We create space to talk because honest dialogue builds understanding, and understanding builds unity. In those three T's, lives matter. Our hope for the future lies. Education liberates. Thinking disrupts injustice, and conversations replace silence. In that spirit, this poem becomes more than just words on a page. It becomes a teaching tool, a mirror, a bridge. It invites us to reflect on where we've been, to acknowledge what has shaped us, and to move forward with intention, knowing that how we treat others can affect them for the rest of their lives, knowing that we want to make a positive impact on the students that we serve and the people that we encounter on a day to day basis. This presentation was not simply just art, it is in alignment with the Get Life mission. Get it together, live in full expectancy, and extension of Get Life's extension of empowerment. As Maya Angelou reminds us, still I rise. This is our hope for the future. And now let's journey together into this poet's future and experience the overcoming of racial injustice and colorism. Here's a Get Life story time. I'm going to read this to you in first person, just as the poet tells her story. Poet states, in this poem, I speak of how my skin was not light enough to fit in the mold that was expected of me. From the moment I entered this world, I was labeled not enough to be claimed fully, not enough to be favored, not enough to be seen as a student worthy of celebration. I remember the whispers in the classroom, the side glances, the subtle misunderstandings. My skin was not light enough. Those words echoed in my spirit long before I had language for racism. I wasn't just a student sitting at a desk. I was a reflection of society's bias, a child navigating expectations that I did not create. Before I ever picked up a pencil, instead of being applauded for my achievements, I was questioned. How could a little Black girl read so great? As if brilliance had a shade chart. But I was always more than my skin. I was a lover of books. I was a seeker of knowledge. I was a creative child. I was a child who found freedom between the pages of stories. As a little girl, I stood there with my proud two ponytails, a picture of innocence and possibility. But beneath that smile lived a quiet ache of being overlooked. In a striped dress, woven with threads of struggle, identity, and resilience, my striped dress likened to the symbols of our American flag. My red symbolized the fire within me with valor and great bravery. The white, sure, they say that it represents innocence and purity. And yes, I once believed that too. But I have learned that purity isn't silence. Purity is standing clean in your truth. Oh, and these stripes are Black. My Black is not just a color. My Black is a declaration of perseverance and poetic justice. And look at me now, skin dark and lovely as ever, blessed beyond every measure. Because you see, I believed in me. Despite racism and social injustice in this society, I believed. No matter what they try to tell you about you, expose and debunk those lies and tell yourself, I can make it. Go ahead, say it out loud. Say it out loud, Get Life family. Tell yourself, I can make it. Whenever the world tries to tell you that you can't, you look the world full of life in the eye and tell the world, yes, I can. There ain't nothing wrong with you. Push beyond your own limits and prove it to yourself. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or how much or how little your level of melanin is. You have to know how amazing you truly are. You see, they try to dim my brilliance, try to shrink me to be less, but my spirit danced through all the noise, wearing pain like I'm dressed to impress. You see, I've carried storms in my chest, sometimes hid rivers of rage behind my eyes. But one thing about me, I am built from broken pieces, and yes, I will always rise. They tried to tell me who I was, whispered lies into my roots, tried to braid shade into my story, but God laced it with the truth. They saw my skin as a dark shadow, but didn't see the sun it holds. Didn't know that every step that I take is built on fire, bold and gold. You see, I walk through doors slammed in my face, but still I rise. Turn less than into the very best then, and still I rise. Turn my silence into a battle cry. Still I rise. Oh, to them I'm supposed to cry, yet still I rise. Instead, with pride, I say to them, watch me fly. You see, they don't know what it means to carry centuries in your spine, to walk into rooms built to break you and leave them standing in your shine. Understand that you are the echo of your ancestors' prayers, the revolution in soft brown eyes, a walking protest, a sacred storm, a poem that never lies. I smile not because it's easy, but because queens don't beg for thrones. You see, I am the throne. I am the crown. I am the story etched in stone. My every no turned into a mission. Every scar turned into a song. Every time they counted me out, I proved to them that their math was wrong. So I walk like my name is freedom. I speak like my tongue is flame. I live like my joy is justice, and they will know my name. My name is Sherida Suggs, and when we return from our break, I will share some powerful quotes shared from a friend that lines right up with our broadcast topic: cultural inclusivity, part 4, our story. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Life Educational Empowerment on WECU 107.5 and 1570 AM. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please reach out to me via email at getlifeempowerment@gmail.com. The email address is on the screen, or you can call the radio station and leave a message at 252-756-2008. Today's broadcast was a little different. As we bring it to a close, let us break the chain of narrow expectations. Let us lift one another up. Let us rewrite the narrative. Let us build spaces where every child feels valued, regardless of complexion, culture, color, or background. Because here's what that particular poet's experience teaches us, what my experience teaches us, what your experience teaches us, what so many of our children are silently carrying right now. Words leave imprints. Children don't just hear what we say, they become what we repeatedly imply. As I was scrolling on the internet one day, minding my business like I always do, I came across a post. As a matter of fact, it was 3 powerful posts on a friend's timeline. That friend's name is Karen Hodges. And one of the first things that I noticed was a post written in bright red that said, "Don't say something permanently hurtful just because you're temporarily upset." Whew, that is a powerful quote. Then I ran across another post on the very same timeline. This post is an experiment that I'd like for us to do together. Grab a piece of paper. If you're close by a piece of paper, I want you to do this with me. Before saying something that may hurt someone, take that piece of paper and crumble it up. Now, I want you to uncrumble the paper. Let's straighten this out. Straighten this paper out. Make it like it was before. You see, you cannot. I want you to understand that people's hearts are like this piece of paper. Once it has been hurt, once it has been crumbled up, once it has been broken, it is difficult to leave it the way that you found it, because saying something hurtful, we need to think about it before we say it. You'd be surprised how many people are barely holding it together. Educators, parents, you'd be surprised how many students are barely holding it together. Some folks laugh the loudest while hurting the deepest. Some folks look unshakable but are falling apart in private. Some fight battles every single day that nobody else ever sees. So choose kindness with strangers, with friends, with families, with classmates, with community members, with colleagues, with our children, with each other. And don't forget to love yourself. You truly have no idea what someone is surviving today. This particular post was shared by Karen Hodges from someone named Vicki Freeman King. As I ran across these posts, it really resonated with me in today's broadcast. It is so important to truly think about how we treat others. When a child is overlooked because of their skin tone or talked about because of their skin tone, when their intelligence is questioned before they speak, when their behavior is labeled instead of understood, it doesn't just disappear, it settles inwardly. That poet learned early that exclusion doesn't have to be loud to be damaging. Sometimes it's the subtle things, the silence, the side eyes, the lowered expectations that bruise the deepest. So here's a get life lesson for our schools. Educators must examine bias, not just the obvious kind, but the quiet kind. The lowered bar, the lowered expectations for our students should be non-existent. She probably won't even do it, or he's just like that expectations. Those expectations shape outcomes. We have to believe in our students. We have to believe in ourselves. Remember that high expectation plus high support equals high impactful transformation. Belonging is not automatic. It is intentional. Belonging doesn't just happen because children share a building. A child can sit in a classroom all year and still feel invisible because of how they are being treated. Remember how that poet said that her teacher, Miss Shirley, did not honor her contributions to the classroom. That student's experience reminds us that representation matters. Cultural awareness matters. Celebrating differences matters, not as a February activity, but as a daily practice. Family voices matters. Parents, you are the first ambassadors of inclusion. You are the anchors of your child's spiritual well-being. The words that you speak to them matter more to them than you know. Affirm your students with positivity daily. You never know what they have to face on a daily basis when they are not around you. Your truth and your words can either cut or your words can empower. Your words can bring life. Remember that life and death are in the power of the tongue. So speak life to your scholar. And this is not a broadcast that blames. It is a broadcast that brings awareness to everyone as everyone plays a part of the betterment of today's society. Families carry stories that students don't always hear. When parents speak about their biases, exclusion, or inequalities, they aren't complaining, they're advocating, they are protecting identity. This student's journey reminds families your child's confidence is sacred. Guard it, affirm it, pour into it at home so deeply that the world cannot drain it. Home must be the first mirror that says you are enough. Communities shape self worth. Communities either reinforce stereotypes or dismantles stereotypes. Let's be a community that dismantles stereotypes. Churches, mentorship groups, after school programs, radio broadcasts, spaces like Get Life Educational Empowerment. We are the healing spaces because when a child hears someone who looks like them succeed, when they hear stories of trial to triumph, when they realize that they are not alone, shame turns into strength. Isolation turns into identity. That student doesn't just survive narrow expectations, they rewrite them. And that is the takeaway. Pain can become purpose, trial can become triumph. The greatest lesson, what wounded you can also awaken you. That young girl that we read about, who once felt like she was not enough, grew into a woman determined to ensure that no child in her presence would ever feel that way. That is what transformation looks like. That is what trial to triumph looks like. That's what the three T's, teaching, thinking, and talking, embraces. Not pretending that hurt didn't happen, but deciding that it won't define the future. So, for our schools, examine the policies, examine your language, examine your expectations. For our families, affirm relentlessly, advocate boldly, love loudly. For our communities, create spaces of belonging, tell the full stories, celebrate every shade, every race of brilliance. Because when one child feels unseen, we all lose. When one child feels valued, we all win. We all rise. And that there is how we break chains. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you with humble hearts, grateful for truth, even when it stretches us. Lord, we thank you for every child, every race, every shade, every culture, every background, every story that you intentionally created. Remind us that none of your creations are accidents, none are mistakes, none are less than. Forgive us for the times when we have participated in narrow expectations. Forgive us for the moments that we fail to see what you see in our children. Open our eyes, open the eyes of our hearts, Lord, where they have been closed. Soften our hearts where they have grown rigid. Father, help our schools become places of belonging, not just buildings of instruction. Let classrooms be spaces where dignity lives, where intelligence is nurtured and character is strengthened, where differences are not merely tolerated but celebrated. Strengthen our educators. Give them discernment. Give them compassion. Give them courage to examine their own hearts and practices. Strengthen our families. Help parents affirm identities boldly and consistently. And positively, let homes be the first place that children hear that they matter, that they are enough, that they are chosen, that they are capable. Strengthen our communities. Raise up mentors, positive leaders and voices that protect the confidence of our young people. Let no child be left behind. Let no child feel invisible. Let no child feel unworthy. And Lord, for every adult still carrying wounds from childhood, heal us. Heal the little girl who felt overlooked. Heal the little boy who felt labeled. Heal the silent places we rarely speak about. Turn pain into purpose. Thank you for turning memory into ministry. Thank you for turning trials into triumph. Thank you for turning experience into empowerment. And it is in your name, Jesus, we pray. May we truly break chains. May we lift one another. May we rewrite narratives that were never aligned to your truth. And may every child who walks into a school tomorrow feel seen, valued, and deeply loved. Amen. And it is so. If you are an educator, I encourage you to celebrate the quiet reader. Affirm every child. Affirm every child, no matter the race or the color of their skin. Encourage the children that don't sound like the others, that don't sound like you. Do not slam the book, but instead open doors. If you are a parent, speak life into your children. Help them love the skin that they're in. Help them love their shade, no matter how much or how little of melanin their skin is in, no matter their curls, their coils, their brilliance. It matters most. If you are a community leader, representation matters, inclusion matters, tone matters. Cultural inclusivity is not a program, it is a posture, it is awareness, it's humanity. It is asking, how might this child be experiencing me? How am I affecting this scholar's social emotional well being? How am I ensuring that this scholar not only graduates from high school, but is able to find a way to go to college or work in an occupation that is empowering and fulfilling to them, an occupation that helps the world to become a better place? How am I helping this child to be all that they can be a part of a thriving society, building our community, maybe joining the military? As we close this Black History Month, remember that history is not just about famous names. It's about the little Black boys, the little Black girls, the little Hispanic Black boys, the little Hispanic boys and girls. It's about every child. The little girl in second grade who almost believed that she wasn't enough. It's about every child today navigating classrooms, wondering if they are seen, no matter what the shade of skin that they are in. Their story matters. My story moved from trial to truth to triumph. And if you are carrying your own trial, I want you to understand that you are not what they said. You are not what they overlooked. You are not what they erased. You are enough. So let's stand or sit where we are, loving who we are, loving our skin, loving our voice, loving our existence, loving our journey. And because I overcame it, I am committed to making sure that the next generation doesn't have to overcome it. Before you speak, before you judge, before you dismiss, think about the crumbled paper. Be kind, be inclusive, be intentional. Embrace the good about you and everyone else. Accept and love who you are so that you can love others. As James Baldwin reminds us, nothing can be changed until it is faced. And today, in this broadcast, we face it. We face bias, we face hurt, we face history, and we face hope. Because the goal is not survival. The goal is about belonging. And when schools, families, and communities were aligned with the goal, children do more than succeed academically. They flourish emotionally. They rise confidently. They lead boldly. So, as you leave this broadcast today, I challenge you to examine your words, examine your tone, examine your actions, your expectations. Ask yourself, who feels seen because of me? Who feels valued because of me? Who feels better because of my existence? Let this not end as a broadcast. Let it begin as a movement within your own sphere of influence. This is Get Life, Live It in Full Expectancy. Until next time, let's keep building spaces where every child knows without question, I belong, I matter, I am enough. I'm Sherida Suggs, your host. Thank you so much for being a part of today's broadcast. I invite you to come back every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. for other impactful and empowering shows. From now to forever, let's get it together, live in full expectancy, and empower education.